What's up, y'all? Talon here. Today we have a really strong Trick Room team that was able to get first place in the Trainer School $400 and 430 participant tour, one of the largest Regulation G tournaments we've had before the official first event of the format, the Baltimore Regionals, which I'm going to be attending, so definitely taking this Regulation H practice very seriously. If you've been playing Scarlet and Violet VGC for a little bit, this type of team might be familiar to you, but there's definitely some new interesting elements to adapt it better to Regulation H that I wanted to show off on the channel. So if you appreciate the effort it took to recreate the team in-game, please subscribe to the channel to show your appreciation. If you want to use the team for yourself, I have the rental code in the top right of the video, as well as in the description below with my EV spreads for the team. I'll have the creator of the team link below, as well as the Trainer School link with all the other top finishing teams. Definitely going to be featuring a lot of those on the channel in the coming days. So with all that being said, let's get into a breakdown of this team now. Starting off, we have the Hatterene and DD combo, as well as the Torkoal Lilligant. These are kind of mainstays for the hard Trick Room teams we've seen in early formats. The Indeedee able to redirect attention away from the Hatterene, as well as give it the Psychic Terrain to block fakeouts, one, and then hit with very powerful expanding forces once Trick Room does go up. The Indeedee has the Psychic Seed to be able to tank special hits very easily, and then we're trained on the physical side to take hits a little bit better there as well. So generally we're going to be leading Indeedee Hatterene pretty often. It's going to be our main lead unless we see some pretty deliberate counterplay. If we see an opponent has a pretty solid anti-Trick Room mode, we have the Lilligant and Torkoal as a counter lead. We can lead with that, activate the Chlorophyll with Torkoal's Drought, double our Lilligant speed and go for After You Terrifier Choice Specs Eruptions for quick knockouts, or just go on the offense with a triple axle or close combat. And then Sleep Powder is our last option. Can kind of just throw things into disarray. We don't even need to lead the Torkoal to go for Sleep Powder. With the Focus Ash and Lilligant's pretty high speed stat, we're outspeeding most Pokemon in the metagame, so we can go for a Sleep Powder and flip some coins on whether we'll be able to protect our Trick Room setter, and then go from there after that. Looking a little closer at the Torkoal, like I said, it is Choice Spec, so we're losing a little bit of the flexibility, but if we're able to take a knockout in Trick Room with the Terrifier Choice Specs Eruption, it's better to just do that instead of fall short of a knockout, take a hit, and then be able to rely on Heat Wave afterwards. This is definitely a all or nothing type of team. You're going to be trying to win your battles in 5 turns or less, and this Torkoal definitely speaks to that. As a mix-up Pokemon, we have the Araquanid when the Torkoal is not something you want to bring, or you just want wide guard support. The Araquanid, very, very strong. It's Terra Grass here to ignore any Amoonguss or Rillaboom that would otherwise be kind of annoying for you, but being able to redirect around Amoonguss is really appreciated. Araquanid also has Wide Guard, so if you're up against something like Rock Slide as a means to stop your Trick Room, you can use the Araquanid for that. The Gallade also has Wide Guard, similarly with another Terra Grass, so kind of both want to be able to beat the Amoonguss, but I do think the Gallade's Terra Grass is more focused on beating Dondozo, to where you can tank the Wave Crashes as well as the Earthquakes, and all they can go for at that point is Order Up. With the Scope Lens Psycho Cut has a 50% chance to crit. With the Psychic Terrain active, you're going to be pretty much doing, I don't know if it will knock out a Dondozo. With a little bit of chip, it's likely to, so going for 2 Psycho Cuts, very likely to take a knockout on Dondozo, which is definitely really nice. We're not a Clear Smog, Salt Vest, or Charcoal Torkoal, so we do need very aggressive ways to clear out the Dondozo, which can otherwise stall out our Trick Room turns pretty effectively. Outside of that, it is a fairly standard composition. I'm going to be taking it onto the ladder today to see how it fares into the competition and just see how hard Trick Room has changed in this regulation. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, with all that being said, let's get into the battles now. My opponent has a Snow team with a Tailwind option as well. So Ninetales can easily set up the Aurora Veil, which is going to be kind of annoying. The Baxcalibur could be Thermal Exchange, and that Eruption I think will... I actually forget what that ability does. I know if I hit it with a fire move, it'll get a special attack boost, but I don't think it has a resistance or anything like that. Rillaboom's definitely annoying. This is quite a strong team into Trick Room. They've got a lot of excellent options for me, but Psycho Cut should be able to clear through a lot of their Pokemon, which I like a lot. I could go Torkoal Lilligant and then just get a Sleep Powder off. That could be cool. I'm a little worried about Dual Wing Beat on the Talonflame, so gotta be on my toes about that. I think Hatterene's pretty cool if they lead something. I can like Terra Fire, I think, pretty safely. I like the Indeedee lead. They can override that if they want to. I think it's okay if they do. Torkoal can switch in if they lead the Ninetales. That's a solid defensive option, or offensive option rather. And I think Gallade is solid. Let's go with Gallade. I could probably optimize my HP stats to be 176 on both the Gallade and the Araquanid, just because if an opponent has grassy terrain, they'll probably bring it against my team, so having the option to heal a little bit more HP when they do put that field effect there is, you know, small way we can optimize the team. Gholdengo Talonflame, fair enough. I don't think they can stop me from going for a Follow Me Terra Fire, I think, on the Indeedee to tank the hit. Or not the Indeedee, and the Hatterene. So that feels pretty good, I think. Yep, just going to go for a Trick Room and a Follow Me. Do I even have to? I could switch into the Torkoal, but it's a little risky. I could also go for Mystic Fire if they were... the problem is I think a Flare Blitz and a Misty Terrain... A Flare Blitz and a Make It Rain probably knocks me out, so I don't want to deal with that. The cool thing about the Terra Fire is it is an offensive Terra as well, because we get the same type attack bonus on our Mystical Fire, which in the case of the Gholdengo in the field is definitely very appreciated. No Terrestrialization coming out from them. Our Mystic Terrain, or our Terra Fire is going to come out first, so... yeah, sometimes just expending your Terra to get Trick Room up is going to be enough, because the Terra Fire on Torkoal can oftentimes be overkill anyway, so no need for it here. We could be setting up the Gholdengo as well, but I feel like the way they let it, it is the offensive one. They do make the mistake of Brave Birding, which does not work in the Psychic Terrain, so I could have gone for an Expanding Force and a Trick Room pretty easily, but didn't go for it there. So I think I'll actually leave the Talonflame's HP intact and Mystical Fire the Gholdengo here. Let's see if they have a good switch in for it. I think regardless getting the... oh, this is going to do so much damage. The Mystical Fire in the Sun. I think they can technically get Ninetales in this turn, but I don't think they have a way to really minimize me from getting a KO here. They could protect the Gholdengo for sure, but I think bringing out the Torkoal means I get a pretty free Eruption no matter what next turn. Talonflame is coming out. Let's see what they go for. It could easily be the Rillaboom, but Ninetales, okay. So they do take away my Sun. I don't think it matters that much in this circumstance. Like, it is for sure a little bit annoying. Okay, good Protect, actually. Definitely a solid Protect there. I do think that a Eruption Expanding Force should be sufficient. I might just go for a Dazzling Gleam to cover the Rillaboom switch in. Yeah. Let's go for that. They switch in Rillaboom, are we in trouble? Not if I take a double KO here. They'd have to commit to Terra Water on Ninetales to take this hit. In which case Expanding Force might come a little short. They're minus special attack. I think I'll just double up into the Ninetales with the Expanding Force in case the Rillaboom comes in on the Gholdengo slot and they Terra Water. I want the Ninetales slot to go down. And if they switch into Rillaboom, that's fine because I am still Specs Torkoal. Okay, Talonflame out still because the Torkoal is slower. The speed tiers work out that I'm moving second with the, yeah, the Hatterene, so I was going to take a knockout regardless. Or rather, if they forced me to single target a Pokemon, the Eruption would knock out the Rillaboom, and then I would single target if they went for like a Terra on the Gholdengo to live the Eruption. So, had pretty much everything covered there. One of their Protect users in the Gholdengo is down, which means we are pretty safe to late game go for a Trick Room Follow Me with the Indeedee and the yeah, there's Ninetales, the Indeedee and the Gallade, without even, you know, that's assuming I don't just take knockouts the rest of this battle, which I probably will. They don't really have a way to stop Expanding Force and Eruption here, so that is what we will go for. Baxcalibur not known for having spread type attacks either, so I think we're kind of covered here. I do think this might have been a good battle to have the Rillaboom. If they switch into Rillaboom instead of wasting their turn with the Talonflame, my damage output is a little slower to start there. And they get to apply Fake Out the next turn, that would have been really good as well. So they are going to burn their Terrestrialization. They kind of need to be able to live the Dazzling Gleam if I go for that, but they, yeah, do go for the Terra Water, so we do a little bit more damage with the Expanding Force and probably enough to take a KO. No Protect from the Ninetales, so we will be cleaning The Ninetales up with the Eruption, and we get a single target Life Orb Expanding Force from the Hatterene. I really don't see a way that they live this. Could be AV, I guess, but I doubt it. On a team like this, I would expect like a Swords Dance set, maybe Loaded Dice Swords Dance Scale Shot. Boom, one big hit. Yeah, if you ever get a single target Expanding Force with the Hatterene, you are pretty much knocking out anything at neutral. It's such a strong Pokemon and an incredibly strong attack. So even though they Brave Birded that first turn, like if they had had Taunt, it wouldn't have really mattered because we Follow Me'd that away and we switched out the next turn anyways, so I feel pretty happy about that. I think the Terrifier is definitely a very potent weapon, offensively and defensively, and it showed against Goldango of Trick Room's harder, or potentially harder matchups if we don't have that Terra. Ooh, a Malamar team with a Tauros, the Sun one, not the Sun one, the Blazing Breed, Whimsicott, Hydreigon, Milotic, and Tinkaton. So Tinkaton can fake out through Armor Tail, but fortunately we are Psychic Terrain instead, so that's valuable for us. I could lead Lilligant and go for the Eruption. I think Tailwind is really inclining me not to do that. But I might go for it anyways, honestly. I do like Lilligant Torkoal a little bit here. It's kind of cool. Then maybe Indeedee Hatterene in the back should be solid. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. They could switch into the Hydreigon, but it doesn't love taking Eruption. They do have some resistances here, but I think if they lead passive enough, I think I can kind of just Sleep Powder everything in Eruption, and I don't even have to click after you if I don't find a lead that I like. So I don't hate this position, that's for sure. They don't know I'm not Solar Blade, so they might just go for a Terra Grass or something on their Milotic. I do like my position a little bit. I think there's some fun stuff I can do here. I could have led Boring Indeedee Hatterene, but I think this is a rare opportunity to actually get the jump on someone with the Torkoal Indeedee, or the Torkoal Lilligant, just based on what I think they're going to lead. So hopefully we get that right, but if we don't, we should still be able to go for Sleep Powder. I think the one fear I have is if they lead the Blazing Breed, which isn't that good, into like Indeedee Hatterene, so I'd be surprised if they did, but it would be solid if their safety goggles into me here. Malamar Hydreigon, exactly, 2 slow Pokemon. One of them is weak to close combat. Very happy to see all that. I think I'm just going to go right for Eruption after you here. And not use my Terastallization, because I think the next turn I'll have a KO primed with close combat. And I doubt they take a knockout here. Well, maybe they could. I could Sleep Powder an Eruption. I think that's not wise. Yeah, I think what I might do is actually Heat Wave. I could close combat the Hydreigon too, but I think what I'll go for is a Heat Wave and a Sleep Powder. Pretty inaccurate as far as moves go here, but should work out okay. I could have gone for After You Eruption here, taking guaranteed damage, but I'm going to be a little bit greedy, go for the inaccurate moves and have some fun with it. So if I double hit this, I'm in great shape because I probably 2-hit KO with Terrifier next turn. They're switching out the Malamar, which is interesting. Who's that going to be? Milotic. Okay, that is falling asleep if I hit my attack, which I will be A-okay with. And there's the Hydreigon Protect. Okay. So we can't be punished. We're going for a lot of inaccurate moves, but we just have a very... okay, we put the Milotic asleep. That is excellent. Now the Hydreigon is free for a close combat this turn if I want it to. Heat Wave doing a good chunk to the Milotic. If we hit Eruption would have been a little bit better, but I think this is better in a lot of situations, so I don't feel too bad about it. I think I'll go Heat Wave plus close combat into the Hydreigon, just to take some damage. It is an Expanding Force switch in, so... Oh yeah, they don't even protect. They got a little bit scared of the Sleep Powder, said, I don't want to waste my Terra. Maybe they'll just Sleep Powder me anyways, but no sir. Now we get a single target Sleep Powder. So this is kind of the mind games the Lilligant player can play. We can be cheeky, go for his Sleep Powders, we can go for the After You turn 1, that could have been a super viable play as well. Like, I think the Eruption Terrifier would have been a 2-hit KO on the Milotic, so yeah. This all works out pretty well. We've knocked the Milotic very, very low to the range where a close combat Heat Wave would knock them out if I wanted to go for that. I don't want to let this game slip though. It is a strong position, but we are -1 in the Lilligant at this point, and I think defensively we're primed pretty well with the Focus Sash, so I don't hate my spot. but I have to be careful. Notably, I do have a sweeper. Let's just go for Heat Wave after you, I think. Or should I take guaranteed damage? Let's think about getting the guaranteed stuff onto the Malamar. They switched out for some reason, so I want to cover that. They cancel out. Yeah, that's kind of how the Illumise Torkoal can feel. I was actually hoping they get around to knocking out my Torkoal. If they do that, then I can actually bring in the Hatterene and go for After You Dazzling Gleams. People forget that the Hatterene is just as strong as a Pokemon, not just as strong in Psychic Terrain, but in Sun with the Dazzling Gleams from Life Orb. Moving first, that can be pretty devastating when you've already been chipped down by the Torkoal. So I was kind of angling for that, but they don't let me get it, unfortunately. I think they probably should have played it out, given I'm going for inaccurate moves, but by starting to lock into more consistent options like After You and Close Combat, I should have been fine. Alright, we have a Regulation H Rain team featuring Pelipper, Archaludon, Rillaboom, Palafin, Incineroar, and Dragapult. I feel like this team is really strong against Sun plus Psychic Terrain. They both have the Rain and the Rillaboom to override our Psychic Terrain and Sun, but we'll roll with the punches regardless. The bridge is definitely super scary, but it doesn't love taking Expanding Forces, and it really doesn't love taking Dazzling Gleams from Hatterene. So we're going to try and exploit that, I think. If they're a Stalwart bridge, they can actually ignore the Follow Me, but I'm going to count on them not being that, I think. What I can also go for, which is pretty funny here, is go for LilliKoal on lead and then just Sleep Powder who they have next to me. I kind of want to do that. That seems pretty good. Gallade with Terra Grass might be solid here in the late game as well. And then Indeedee. I could go Torkoal as well. Triple Axle Close Combat is my coverage here. Is that really advisable? Not sure. If they lead the bridge, I can just Sleep Powder it. Oh, actually, if they lead the bridge, they're definitely going for... Yeah, let's have the Gallade in the back and then a Torkoal or Araquanid. Let's go Torkoal. Even in the Rain, the Terrifier Eruption is going to do a lot to the Archaludon. I don't know how much, but probably like 60% if I Terrifier. I'm going to run the calc on that. Okay, Palafin, Dragapult. So what they can kind of do here is just flip turn and U-turn, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it, unfortunately, but I think that's okay. They're probably getting in their Rillaboom here. I really doubt they're going for a... So here's what I want to do. I just want to go for... I could go for damage or I could attack. I think I want to just Trick Room Follow Me. If I go down, I go down. It is what it is. But if they bring the Rillaboom, I'm in a bit of trouble. But I just need the Indeedee to survive the turn, I think. Could Dazzling Gleam, but I don't think that makes a ton of sense when I don't have Protect on the Hatterene. So no hard switch, but it could just be flip turn and U-turn. Phantom Force is not really what I was expecting, especially since they shouldn't have a knockout into the... Yeah, flip turn makes sense for sure. I don't think that's banded damage, so probably Mystic Water. They have a cool play now in that they can go for a Phantom Force into my Hatterene and I can't really stop it. And fake out the Indeedee to stop the Follow Me, so yeah, good play. Definitely makes a lot of sense there. I think I will just go for a kind of cheeky play here. So they do have a lot of damage coming this turn, but I can just go for Mystical Fire. Should I do this? Burning the Terra might be inadvisable, but I think surviving the hit could be kind of important. If I go into Rillaboom, I think I'm going to go for it. So I think the play they're making doesn't make sense if they fake out the Hatterene, because I can just Follow Me away their Phantom Force. So I think what they should be doing is faking out the Indeedee as I like M-Force the Terra on the Hatterene or take a bunch of damage. So I'm going to go for this play just because I feel like it covers a lot. And yeah, no Terra from them, or rather, they still might Terra, but it'd have to be the Rillaboom. But Hatterene moving first, which is to be expected under Trick Room. They'd have to be Iron Ball, Min Speed, and still I think they would outspeed Hatterene. So hopefully no Fake Out into the hat, but if it is, no big issue. Yeah, no Terrestrialization at all from the Rillaboom, so this should be a knockout. I am all okay with that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if your AV, if you can even take that, but glad to knock out the Rillaboom. Now, if I live the Phantom Force, I should be in good shape with the... Yeah, we do survive. That's really important. Because we just knocked out the Rillaboom, so we're going to have terrain control this battle. Which I love that. Taking no damage on the Torkoal on switch-in is pretty cool too, because, yeah, Palafin coming in here, which makes sense, but now we should have a pretty safe Expanding Force switch to the Indeedee. And there's not a whole lot they can do about that. Shouldn't matter who I target, because it's going to be double target regardless, but I could Dazzling Gleam. Am I covered? I mean, surely it's Pelipper in the back. If it isn't, I think I win anyways. If it is the Incineroar, it's fine. Let's just go for the switch, I think. Now, if they do have Incineroar in the back, Dazzling Gleam's a little better here, but I think the Expanding Force should knock the Palafin into Eruption range, which is what I'm going for, as well as any damage from the Glade. And Incineroar shouldn't be a huge issue for... Yeah, they're switching out probably into the Pelipper, I'd have to imagine. Yeah, Pelipper. That's fine. Dragapult isn't going to love taking Helping Hand Eruptions, and depending on what they lock into, I might beat them with the Glade anyways. Big damage, and they can only target one with the Palafin, which is one of its weaknesses as a Pokemon. I think Palafin Rain generally did struggle into... PsySpam in general in early regulations, and they go for the Wave Crash. Into the Indeedee switch-in. Unfortunate, because we have that covered. Now I think, yeah, they knock out the Palafin, so we're going to get rain control when the Torkoal comes back in. The only question is, do we do it now? I think probably not, because Psycho Cut should be enough to knock out the Dragapult. So I will go for the Glade. I don't think Torkoal is necessary just yet, since Psycho Cut plus another attack should knock out the Pelipper. Okay, let's look at the turns. We do have 2 turns of Trick Room left. I think Dazzling Gleam. Mystical Fire should cover the Pelipper. The only question is, what else could they go for? I'm going to assume they don't have it, and even if they do, it shouldn't matter because of Psycho Cut, I think. And we can lock into Weather Ball if they reveal that. And they're also going to have to risk a double Protect to the last turn of Trick Room to go, if they do have that. So Protect from Pelipper, so Expanding Force should probably punch in the win against the Dragapult. Or Dazzling Gleam, rather. They never used their Terrestrialization, which was interesting. Usually, cheeky Defensive Terra can slow down a Trick Room team's momentum just enough for you to get a win, but that was pretty open and shut. Knocking out the Rillaboom was definitely the largest key to winning that battle. And the Glade, unfortunately not able to slice through their team with the critting, sharpness boosted, psychic terrain boosted moves, but it did get to make an appearance and look cool. Glade really is more of a matchup mon. If you see something that I think it is really strong against the Archaludon. If you get into Trick Room and you've chipped it down a little bit, Sacred Sword should be taking a knockout, and if they've already gone for a Terrestrialization, the Psycho Cut is just going to do so much damage, even if they have stamina boost, if you do end up critting them. So good game with them. I think leaving the Rillaboom open that turn was their only huge mistake. Outside of that, I think they played fine. Just keeping the grassy terrain in that matchup is such a huge deal, especially if you're not going to knock out the Hatterene with the Phantom Force that turn. Okay, I haven't seen a Golurk in a long time, but here it is. With a Iron Valiant, we will pretend it's not there for the sake of Regulation H. This is on the casual ladder, of course, because Ranked Battle Ladder on Regulation H is not yet available. Digfat on the Snorlax could be kind of annoying. I do think Torkoal naturally underspeeds it, but I'm not certain. I think this could actually be a strong battle for the Araquanid offensively, but Glade is just fantastic here as well. Outside of Trick Room, it's actually knocking out pretty much everything with Sacred Sword, Or rather, I mean, it does pretty well into the Porygon and friends, so... I think what I'll go with is actually the Indeedee and the Gallade on lead with the Araquanid in the back, and Indeedee's okay, or Hatterene's okay. I'm a little worried about the Bronzong taking up a lot of work. I think the Hatterene's decent here. Like, Mystical Fire is really strong against the Bronzong, that's for sure. And I think probably sufficient, since they can't clear away the Trick Room or the terrain. I like that a fair bit. And if they do go into Trick Room on their own, we should be good with the Hatterene. I think preserving Terra Fire will mean the Hatterene can 1v1 the Bronzong pretty effectively, so going to be keeping my eye on that Terra. Okay, they bring out the Golurk and the Grimmsnarl, so I think I can Psycho Cut and just knock out that Golurk pretty easily. I'm not sure what they're going for on that slot, to be honest. I think I'll take a move from the Golurk pretty well on both Pokemon here. Outside of, I mean, Earthquake will do a lot, but I think I'll follow me to tank a Spirit Break, especially when I have a 50% most likely to just knock out the Golurk regardless with the Psycho Cut. Unless they have a defensive Terra here, which could be possible, but no Terras from either side. They go for the Reflect, which the Psycho Cut is, you know, tech for this sort of thing. We are moving before the Golurk, and we don't crit. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. They go for Poltergeist. Definitely glad we went for Follow Me there. And now we just follow it up with another, pretty much just follow that up. They can punish this with a Spirit Break into the Indeedee, which will lower my offensive power, but I think I'm okay with that. So, have been pretty unlucky with the Gallade. In any battles I've used it with, at least on ladder, it has not crit, but on Showdown it's like pretty much always crit. So, kind of interesting there. Switching out the Golurk, unless that's a Dark type, you're really not safe switching it out. Bronzong, sure, fair enough. Double resisting the Z. Sounding French there. Yeah, Psychic Seed, that's going to be kind of annoying. Torkoal could otherwise handle it. But I don't think Mystic Fire is that strong of a counter anymore. They taunt in the Psychic Terrain, unfortunate for them. No crit, of course, yeah, unfortunate. If they start Iron Defensing up, that's a bit of a problem. I think I will just go for a Helping Hand Sacred Sword here. Just because, yeah, really that's... I won't be cutting through Reflect unless I do get the 1/8 Scope Lens crit on the Sacred Sword, which would be very nice, but not counting on it here. I do think 2 Sacred Swords might be a little shy. If I'd crit the Psycho Cut, I think I'd get there, but probably not here. Light Screen going up, so maybe no attacking move on the Grimmsnarl. Or maybe it's Sucker Punch, I don't know. Ooh, that does a lot of damage, wow. That's incredible damage, holy cow. Yeah, Sharpness Gallade is no joke, even when it's not critting. That did a ton. To the point that Sacred Sword, even without Helping Hand, might knock out. Should I go for that? Do they have anything in the back that can switch in and heal? It doesn't look like it. Let's just go for it. It's going to be really close, but I do think we will knock out. And I don't want to take a Gyro Ball and a Spirit Break, so I'll go for that. No switches, so we're stalling a bit of their Trick Room here. With a passive board. Metronome! Okay. I honestly did not even know it got that. They go for Double Edge. But it's priority, that's so funny. Yeah, that's really funny. Wow, yeah, this Grimmsnarl is completely walled out in Trick Room, which is pretty cool. We don't take the knockout, unfortunate. But now we can go for Psycho Cut and crit through if they try and switch. So yeah, pretty fortunate for us. There is, I guess, even if they pull like a Fisher or something, it'll still be priority on their Golurk, or on their Grimmsnarl. So they need to like pull Life Dew or something to heal their Bronzong out of range. I don't know, man. That's a really crazy set. Yeah, I do think the screen stuff is not especially strong against Gallade. But yeah, they're switching out the Grimmsnarl. They have learned the Psychic Terrain mechanic. Kevlar, what is that? Okay, the P2. That's really not going to love taking the Sacred Swords or the Psycho Cuts at some point. But yeah, Gyro Ball's not doing a ton here, so I'm very happy with my position. Another Gyro Ball, keeping me honest, but I'm keeping them honest with the Follow Me. Gyro Ball would do a decent chunk to the Gallade just because the defense stat on this Pokemon is pretty low. Okay, no more weirdness, so we have stalled out our turn, so Psycho Cut's going to be doing a little bit less. Gallade is definitely looking me right in the eye right now, and I really don't like it. Do y'all see this? Gallade has prey eyes. My goodness. Yeah, he was literally looking at me. Because now he's looking forward. That's so weird. Oh, I did not like that at all. Okay. So they can go for Metronome now, I guess. But I think 2 Sacred Swords is a KO into the P2 regardless, so should be okay. Yeah, let's just keep this P2 in check, force it to click Recover one of the turns, and we should be okay. They can go for Metronome, and yeah, definitely could get a Fissure, but odds are in my favor, they get nothing useful. Taunt, finally get one off, fair enough. A little more consistent than Metronome, that's for sure. And we are underspeeding the P2 in Trick Room, that's really important, and we're still doing a ton through Reflect, that's awesome. So I think if they don't Terra, they're pretty much just losing the game regardless here. So I think with that in mind, I'm just going to go into the Araquanid and Psycho Cut the P2. If they switch in the Golurk, they lose that way as well. And if they stay in and go for the Terra, Psycho Cut should knock out. Okay, no Terra at all. So they were just going to let me Sacred Sword and knock them out. Or go for a Metronome Fissure into me, or something like that. But they go for a Sludge Bomb, they poison me, but I don't think the battle will last long enough at this point for it to matter. Psycho Cut, once again not critting. I feel like Psycho Cut is broken for me. So yeah, I definitely get punished on that Sacred Sword. That's really unfortunate, but I think a Sacred Sword and a Liquidation will still knock out the P2, and I will be in fine shape after that. Grimmsnarl with Metronome, there's always a way if they hit Horn Drill or Sheer Cold or anything like that, but it is Psyblade. Which does not knock me out, which is cool. Terra Blast, fair enough. They're clawing their way back into this, that's for sure. But I think with Indeedee and Araquanid, we should still win. Yeah, they do they do DC. Wonder why. Guess they weren't rolling lucky enough on Metronomes for their taste. You hate to see it. Yeah, good game to them. I do think... wasn't entirely sure what the screens were for. I didn't see a hostile setup element on their team. Maybe I'm unaware with Golurk's game. But yeah, the Snorlax probably would have been their best bet, but with a defensive Terra, like maybe Terra Ghost would have been good, and then dodge the Sacred Sword, and then dodge Psycho Cut crits, which they were doing a good job of. So, yeah, interesting game. Okay, we have an Illumise on a pretty standard Rain team outside of that. So Rain plus the Rillaboom can be annoying for the Hatterene for sure. Let's see what we can do about it. I think I still like leading the Indeedee generally, but I could lead the Lilligant. The problem is then they just have a knockout on the Hatterene slot and I can't do a whole lot about it. They might just switch out in that circumstance though. I think the Araquanid is actually really strong against everything but the... This is definitely a Terra Grass Gallade matchup actually, so we're going to probably angle for that. And then, do I need the Torkoal in the back? It's tempting, but I'm not certain that I do need it. I think Araquanid might be a little bit better. Because Pelipper is just going to stay in the back. There's nothing really inviting it in for a little bit. Once it does come in, what do I do about it? Yeah, tricky one here. I think the damage from the Torkoal is still going to be pretty beneficial. But under Rain, the Amoonguss can kind of like do what it wants. Let's bring the Torkoal. I think it's going to be less of an offensive weapon and more of a switch in kind of early on to like force the Pelipper in. Because once I am able to knock that out, the Terra Grass Glade is going to look really strong for us. Like, if I could preserve Indeedee by switching in the Torkoal on that slot, I really like my position. And they realistically shouldn't last respects in front of the Indeedee, but if they do, really solid play. Okay, and it is going to be Rillaboom plus Amoonguss. Interesting. And their Grassy Surge activates first, so that's kind of why you don't generally lead the Rillaboom against the Indeedee unless you're deliberately running it slower. But I am like a pretty unextraordinary Indeedee set, so kind of surprised to see that. I mean, to me this looks like a pretty safe Expanding Force. Follow me, and I don't really have to go for Trick Room yet. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I could even go for a Expanding Force Helping Hand to cover for a Terra. They're probably U-turning. What could come in? The Arch, I guess? If they do that, is that fine? Probably. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I think I'm going to go for the Expanding Force for sure. It's just a matter of if I stall a turn. I don't think I should. I think I'm just going to go for the Trick Room because... Okay, Protect on Indeedee is fine, for sure. My Woodhammer, that's not knocking out, I think. Oh, that could be Bandit for sure. Wow, okay. So that was a mistake because the Hatterene took so much damage there. That was not necessary, but I thought U-turn was a little more likely. I think their play was pretty unsafe, especially when I knock out the Rillaboom and have terrain control the rest of the battle. Without Fake Out to break through my Trick Room, I feel pretty solid about all this. The problem is I'm not Safety Goggles, so they do get a Spore on the Amoonguss, but in doing so, they'll have to waste their Terra, so I'm kind of fine with it. Yeah, if they lose Terra, they should just lose the game, I think. So, they should be fine. Like, Glade's looking pretty strong here. If they go into the Pelipper, is that an issue? Yeah, because then they'll live a hit, and I can't Expanding Force. If they have Wide Guard, that is. But if they go for that, is that big of a problem? It could be. Okay, Illumise is not a problem, actually. So this should just be an Expanding Force Follow Me again. I guess I could go for Helping Hand, and I probably should. Yeah, Follow Me, not the correct play here. I'm just following me away a Life Orb Expanding Force when a Helping Hand one is just as good. And actually, I think a Psychic is probably a little better on my end. But with Torkoal in the back, I think we're going to do enough damage for everything to be in Eruption range. Teferi, yeah, Helping Hand would have knocked out here, so misplay on my part. Just rushing through the turns. I think it is important when you're using these Trick Room turns to just make the most of your time, just because basically the battles are usually going to last like 6 to 7 turns regardless, so you might as well just spend some time and make sure that you're making the correct plays every turn. So they are going to live this pretty handily, actually. Okay. I think that's fine by me. I'm going to go into Glade here, not the Torkoal, so that I can force a knockout into a Pokemon. But yeah, a Helping Hand would have maybe not knocked out the Illumise and the Amoonguss, but might have been close. Things would have been in range for the Torkoal now, that's for sure. But this is where preserving the Trick Room, or the Terrestrialization was so important. Yeah, the Illumise, Illumise might have lived regardless, so let's just go for Psycho Cut into the Illumise, I think. How many turns of Trick Room? They reveal Protect on the Amoonguss, so one way we could lose this game is by losing turns to that. So I'm going to try and dodge that. We can pretty much ignore the Amoonguss given that we are not going to be taking that much from Pollen Puff. And we'll just try and burn sleep turns on Indeedee. I think it could reasonably KO the Pelipper's Focus Sash at some point. Or not Focus Sash, the Focus Sash. It might be able to wake up at some point. Oh, the bridge is not what I was expecting. Okay. So they've already Terra'd though, so Sacred Sword should be pretty close to a knockout. I guess they can Pollen Puff themselves though. Yeah. So Torkoal is a pretty easy win here for me. They didn't bring the Pelipper, oddly enough. Interesting picks to bring this battle. Yeah, they do protect the Amoonguss, that's why I didn't attack into it. Guaranteed damage onto the Archaludon slot. Boom, no crit. But the stamina activates. They might be feeling safe. I want to know how much the Sacred Sword does. So I will be going for that. Now that we see there is no Pelipper in the back, Torkoal is free to come in. If they don't Spore my Indeedee slot, they probably lose the game on the spot. And if they don't Pollen Puff the Archaludon, Sacred Sword's a KO. So they'd have to go for a pretty specific play of Spore into the Indeedee and switch out on the Archaludon in the face of Sacred Sword, which is a lot to get right on their end, but definitely possible. Even if they do, I think 2 Sacred Swords might even knock out the Illumise. Rage Powder. They might not know about the interaction with the grass typing there, unfortunate, but yeah, this is going to be a free KO onto the Archaludon. Through the stamina, Gallade is definitely an excellent counter to Archaludon. One to be watching coming into the first regional cycle, so definitely an essential element of these Trick Room teams going forward is the option to just get rid of the Archaludon, which can otherwise be kind of annoying for your Trick Room. Regardless, this should just be an Eruption Psycho Cut to close the game out. They do cancel it, yeah, they have no more offense, and all my Pokemon are just way too healthy with the last turn of Trick Room remaining, so good game to them. I think their lead was a little odd. I think as you play the format out, you learn a little bit more about your ideal options into these pretty standard Trick Room teams, and they did not seem to be super familiar on their end. So I was going to show the team just as I'm closing out the video, but for some reason the Battle Stadium went under maintenance, and now I just literally can't look up my rental team, so yeah, I'll have the rental code in the description below, as well as the Pokepaste featuring the EV spreads. Check out the inventor of the team, or rather the composer of this particular composition of the Hard Trick Room team. It's been around for a while, that's for sure, as well as the rest of the teams from the Trainer School tournament. I'll have both of those linked in the description below. If you enjoy these type of videos, please subscribe, and yeah, with all that being said, peace y'all.